From the Ear to There Travel Studio, this is the Ear to There Disney Podcast.
Welcome aboard the Ear to There Podcast, the podcast that'll help you vacation like a pro in any Disney destination. For those of you standing, please sit down and hold on throughout our journey and get ready to learn how to have the time of your life. And now, here's your host, Phil Gramlich.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ear to There Podcast. I'm your host, Phil Gramlich. I am also the owner and the operator of Ear to There Travel, which is a Disney-specialized travel agency. As I always say, it's my job to take away all that stress, all that anxiety, and all that time that it takes to plan a Disney trip so you can focus on the fun things like having a phenomenal time with your family and friends and enjoying the magic. And I do all of that for free. So from booking your resort reservations to dining to fast passes, special event tickets, including Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party and Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party, food and wine festival events, everything. I do all of that planning, all of that booking at absolutely no charge to you. You can always find this podcast, my blog, or request a free, no obligation quote over at eartotheretravel.com. Also, keep an eye out for my new podcast, Running for Sandwiches. That is a podcast that I call Running, Rewards, and a Dash of Disney. If you are a runner, if you're thinking about running or walking or participating in any of the Run Disney endurance events, I talk all about my training there. I talk about life. I talk about running. I talk about Disney a little bit. It's a fun show, I think. I've gotten good response to it, so you can check that out on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or of course, you can find it over at runningforsandwiches.com. All right, this is episode number 89, believe it or not, for the week of September 18th, 2017. Now, grab a drink, grab a snack, and as a famous mouse once said, on with the show. What are the first few words of the classic Disney song, It's a Small World, right? They are, it's a world of laughter. And it's so true with Walt Disney World. It's all about laughing and laughter and making those just incredible, unforgettable moments and memories with your family. And when we started looking, or at least when I started looking up my favorite, or thinking of my favorite funny moments, or my favorite funny places that make me laugh in Walt Disney World, my list really was endless. And whether it's because this attraction is funny, or the restaurant is hilarious, or the show just makes me laugh, or if it was just because I have really funny memories at certain attractions and places in the park, I had to limit myself on this list because I just had so many that I wanted to mention. But, you know, we can't make these shows 3 hours long, even though I think sometimes my guest and I wish that we could. So this week, we wanted to bring you our top 10 or so LOL moments in Walt Disney World. Here to talk all about our favorite LOL, by the way, I can't stand that word or that phrase, LOL locations throughout Walt Disney World is a man who loves Will Ferrell movies and Fail Army YouTube videos. He also inherited his whole sense of humor from his trash-talking, Harley-riding, daredevil grandma. Mr. Johnny Shortsleeve, thank you for coming back on and welcome back to the show.
Thanks, man. I just saw Grandma today. You know what she said to me? She was messing around. We just had the hurricane down here. She's cleaning up her backyard, picking up all her yard tools, and I said, "Grandma, how you doing?" She says, "Another day, another beer." That's how she rolls. I mean, that's her lifestyle, and I got to admire that. It's a good thing. She's in good health. She survived. The one thing that did get damaged at Grandma's house, I mean, roof's fine. Patio furniture fine, her Harley's fine, her Saturn's okay. Although I wish that thing would have gotten picked up in the tornadoes, if you know what I mean. Anyway, she had a toilet out in the backyard that she made into a planter. Like an old toilet. I don't know where she got it from. I didn't ask questions, but she put topsoil in the bowl and put plants in there, and she leaves the seat up, of course. but it's, that was the thing that got destroyed.
That's a shame.
So, American Standard, this is for you. If anyone from American Standard's listening, shout out to American Standard. You make good toilets, but not great planners.
They can't withstand category or hurricane force winds outside.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they got down here. Everyone's saying it's different stuff. It is, like a 1 or a 2 by the time it hit us inland here. But yeah, that was the one thing at Grandma's property that didn't make it.
All right, man. Well, I do love hearing stories of Grandma short sleeves. I wanted to kind of start off the show because we're going to talk about stuff that's funny, and that always makes me laugh. So I figured that would set the scene pretty well for us.
I'll have to get her on here one day. See if she can figure out how to turn her computer on. It's been a little while.
Fire up that old Tandy computer. See if it works. Yeah,
she's a Wang computer.
So, all right, man. Well, thanks for coming back on, as always. And here's the thing, right? I was trying to figure out a topic. I texted you, a couple days, yesterday maybe? And I said, are you up for recording an episode? You were like, of course. And that's just the kind of guy you are. You're always up for helping me out, of course. And then I said, you said, do you have a topic in mind? And I said, nope. And then I said, I was going to see a stand-up, an improv comedy show. And I said, I really miss the Comedy Warehouse at Pleasure Island. I used to love going to that. Even when I wasn't, when I was in a college program, I wasn't of age. I couldn't obviously have alcohol there. We would go anyway. My friends and I, my roommates, would go and watch it just to laugh. It was so funny. The comedians there were excellent. I know a lot of them are around for the Christmas show now. They do it seasonally. I guess at Hollywood Studios, right, in one of the theaters there.
They were doing it for a couple years. I don't think they did it last year because Streets of America was shut down.
Right, that's right. That theater's not there anymore.
But here's a funny story about that. So I bumped into one of the actors who still is a performer at Disney doing a bunch of different stuff. I don't want to say who he is or where he performed. I don't want to throw him under the bus for this one. But he was one of the Comedy Warehouse actors. And I was in there one night with my wife before our kids were born. And I don't know, man. I might have had a drink or two. I don't know. It was a blur. And at one point in the show, they asked if they had the performers off stage that allegedly were blocking their hearing so they couldn't hear what we were saying. They said, can somebody give us a phrase to use? And we'll try to do like a, what's the game where you charades kind of deal. And we'll see if we can act it out in a comical way and see if we can get our comedians to figure out what we're doing. So who raises his hands first? Yours truly right here. And they go, all right, yeah, you, sir, with the X's over your eyes. I don't know why they said that, but And I said, how about corn? Enjoy it again for a second time. And the guy just lit up. I was like, yes. And they did it and they figured it out. Like the person who took it and was able to do the charades was able to do it in a way, and I'll let you use your imagination, was able to do it in a way that made the actors figure out what that phrase was.
That's
and
crazy.
So I bumped into the guy at a wedding that I was at, and my wife was talking to him. She says, yeah, she tells him stories. I remember that. And
awesome.
We use it all the time. And I thought, I don't know if he was just saying that and just to be polite or if he really did remember it. But I thought that's kind of funny. But yeah, I'm with you, man. I was so bummed when I started to hear about the plans to remove Pleasure Island because I thought that was such a neat venue. But I understand why they did it, and I understand, there's new things. And I love Disney Springs; it's great. But I sure would love to see something like the Comedy Warehouse come back somewhere. And you know what? They do have a full-time improv troupe in Orlando. So if you're someone who's visiting Orlando and you say, "Man, I love improv comedy," but don't really go have an improv, like the improv franchise or a Laugh Factory or whatever in my hometown. It's probably a pretty short goober ride downtown, cheap goober ride to get down there. It's called SAK, S-A-K. It's an improv comedy group downtown here in Orlando, so you can check them out.
And I love improv. It's one of my favorite things. I used to love Whose Line Is It Anyway? I don't know if I think it's back on with a new host now. I know Drew Carey hosted it for a long time, and then it was Aisha Taylor, I think, hosted it. I don't know if she still does, but I love improv. The show we saw last night was phenomenal. And it gives me we have to get into our list in a minute, but it gives me, I always think after seeing improv, I'm like, I could probably do that. Like, I'm good. And then
you do it every week, man.
Yeah, right. And then I was thinking about it, and I was like, I think I could do it. And then you think about what goes into it. I was watching them last night, watching these performers. It's incredible how fast their minds move. Like, they're so far ahead of everyone else there. Like, they are ready for a witty comeback when they ask the audience a question. No matter what they answer, they have a perfect answer. It's crazy. And watching them do the charades they had this one game where it was like driving in cars, and they would all switch in and out of these seats that were like an imaginary car, and with these crazy conversations, but they only had one phrase that they could use from the audience for each conversation. And it just developed these hilarious skits. It's amazing how they can do that.
Then add that extra element of being on stage, like having the lights on and an audience watching. Like, if you're doing that in your living room with some friends just to have fun, like play charades or whatever, just hanging out, that's one thing. But to do it in front of an audience, like a live, that's or the ones on TV, the TV cameras running. I guess I wonder if the audience is harder, because it's not like with the TV. I guess in theory they could say, "Hey, man, that was just all garbage. Let's scrap it. Let's start again." Can't do that in front of a live audience.
Yeah, nope, no. So it's awesome. All right, yeah. Anyway, go support the arts and improv comedy if you can, because it's awesome. And I'm lucky in Philadelphia. We have a bunch of really cool old, the one we saw last night was the longest running improv troupe in Philadelphia. So that was pretty cool. Anyway, all right. So after the Comedy Warehouse closed, now I'm trying to segue it. It's not a very good segue, but there are still very, very, very funny LOL, as I said. And I don't know why that bothers me, this LOL. I'll never write that in a text. I'll never say that, but I think it's good for the title because I think people respond and know what LOL is. I just don't use it. But anyway, some laugh out loud moments. Not moments, I'm sorry. What did we say?
Locations.
Laugh out loud locations, which rolls off the tongue even better than moments. All over the Disney parks and resorts and Disney Springs and all that stuff. So let's get into our list. I flipped a coin, dude, before we started, and I won, but I'm going to defer, like the NFL, to you for the first one. So go ahead with your first LOL location.
Well, I think your setup is a perfect setup for me. And as it's been done in the past, we seem to have these really brilliant connections here in segues when working with each other, because my first choice is the Citizens of Hollywood. Probably no surprise to you because I've talked about them a bunch. Citizens of Hollywood are, in case you haven't heard me talk about it, or if you're not familiar with it, is a improv troupe that is at Disney's Hollywood Studios. They are not on the Times Guide that you can get as soon as you walk in the park, or they're not on the Times Guide on My Disney Experience. So it's very hard to plan your visit to Disney's Hollywood Studios around a Citizens of Hollywood set that they would be out there. But what I can say, just kind of watching it and figuring out and talking to some of them, they recently changed their schedule. So prior to the change, it was kind of easy to figure out when they would be coming out because they were kind of like on a regular, on the hour, getting out and doing stuff. Now, not so much because it's kind of staggered. And one of the things that they do, at least last time I was there and saw it, which maybe a few months ago, was they have one of the bits they do during the day is the funniest citizens of Hollywood, where all of them will come out. And I think you even, Phil, did like a Facebook Live.
Yeah, I did.
Of funniest citizens of Hollywood bit that they do on a daily basis, which essentially is all of them who are there that day will get out there and they will tell jokes and they'll take feedback from the audience to get topics, and they will have the audience vote to see who's the funniest citizen of Hollywood. And it's, punny kind of humor. And I laugh because, like you said, in talking about just improv in general, is They are super quick witted and their humor. It's family friendly. Because now think about if you wanted to take your three kids to see some improv comedy in Philadelphia, I'm got to imagine that's going to be in an evening hour nightclub, probably a few people that have had a couple too many Bartles and James or Zimas.
Great reference, Bartles and James. I haven't thought about that, and I can't even tell you the last time I thought about that. That's awesome. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, great posters too. You used to see those in the the liquor store.
The guy with like the hat and the overalls with the holding the bottle. It was awesome.
Well, the posters that I remember were like just there, in the commercials, they were always sitting in the lawn chairs on the patio or whatever, and they're just kind of, monotone talking about whatever. But the posters were them doing that, but their backs. And like, if you're not 21, we don't want you supporting Bartles and James or whatever the phrase was. That'd be, what you should do is see if you can get like a call to action, the first person who can find that and, send you like an email and get them like $50 off your service. We'll get into that later though, right?
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, when you do your like shameless plug for, all the services you sell.
Yes.
We'll get into that later.
All right.
So here's the thing with Citizens of Hollywood. It's almost like you have to kind of hang around and just park on a bench or walk around a little bit. And you'll see them now with the new schedule a little more you won't have to be there for an hour waiting. They're out, coming out, and kind of zipping in and out a little bit more. And it might be just a fewer, maybe one or two out at a time instead of maybe three or four. Don't quote me on any of this because this is never stuff that's on a Times Guide. So I'm just kind of going on what I used to see and what I've heard from talking to some of them. So, but here's my recommendation. Disney's Hollywood Studios, I'm talking to so many people who go there with an agenda and saying, I'm going to be here from the very moment in which it opens until I get through the 4 attractions that are open right now or however many there are. And then I'm out. I don't like that. I am somebody who loves Disney's Hollywood Studios for just the atmosphere and just the experience of being there. So please, my recommendation is to take some time out of your day and carve enough time when you can just meander around Disney's Hollywood Studios and enjoy some of the sights and sounds and tastes and smells and all that good stuff. And in doing that, you probably are going to bump into some of the citizens of Hollywood as they're out and about doing some of their sets. They're so much fun. They're such nice people. They're great in terms of being able to interact with the guests, especially the kids. So this is a great example of something, in terms of sparking an interest with your children, something to do that kind of get them to see what this might be something of interest to them. So Citizens of Hollywood, that's my number one pick.
Is that the game you were talking about? Is that the one when they do like the 99 blah 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 walked into a is that one?
Yes. Yeah.
I love that. And it's the reason it's so funny is because it is, that they have, sometimes they get repeats and they'll hit one out of the park.
Yeah.
But the best is when they get something that's completely out of left field, like from a kid, and they have no idea what to do with it. And it's not funny, but that's what makes it hilarious because they know it's not funny and they're they struggle to come up with it and their faces and they sell it anyway. It kills me. I laugh every time.
Well, and also what will happen is if some of them get voted off early, this isn't every time. So if you find this, you're out there and you see the funniest citizens how doing the 99 jokes, and they don't do this, don't get mad at me. But many times, if they get voted off early, they'll tell the citizen to tell a parting joke. And I was literally like laying on the floor laughing this one time because Jack Diamond, the magician, the talent agent, he got voted off kind of early one time, and they said, "All right, Jack, tell us a joke." And he goes, "All right, everybody, what's the difference between broccoli and boogers?" And everyone's kind of looking around and going, "I don't know." And he goes, "Kids won't eat broccoli." And then he just rolls off the stage.
That's a great joke, man. That's fantastic. I was going to ask you for your best dad joke because we were talking about, just it's a funny episode. But let's do another one. Do you have a funny dad joke? One that you go to with your kids? Because I have one.
Oh, you know what? I don't come with a lot of like premeditated material with my kids. It's a lot of observational humor. Like I'll see something and something will just come to mind and I'll say something that'll get them going. And I don't have any that I keep in the queue.
I have like a couple go-tos. Like my one is Where does a general keep his armies? In his sleeveys.
That's not bad. That's not bad. It's like a 5, man. They all can't be 8s and 9s.
No, it's not. I mean, listen. My favorite is why does the seagull fly by the sea? Because if he flew by the bay, he'd be a bagel. I think that's a really good one too.
Yeah, 4.5.
Listen, I know they're bad, but it's a dad joke. Of course,
it's a dad joke. I mean, they're supposed to be at that level, you know.
Yeah, they're not home runs.
We're not talking Mitch Hedberg material for your kids. You don't pull out the big guns.
No, it's not the Dufresnes. If you know that joke from Mitch Hedberg, the Dufresnes. Anyway, if you know Mitch Hedberg, you know the Dufresne joke. I'm not gonna. It's a long one, so I'm not gonna go into it. Maybe another episode. But anyway, all right. My first one, and I love that choice, by the way. I knew you were gonna pick it, and it was one of my honorable mentions. There was no way you weren't going with them, so I knew you would. But I wanted to make sure if you didn't that I mentioned it.
We're like already, I think we're starting to come up with some strategy because there's some that I think you're going to pick, so I totally steered clear of them. So
yeah, so my first one you probably steer clear of, which is Stitch's Great Escape. No, I'm kidding. That's not the one I was going with. By the way, I cannot believe, and I think I mentioned it recently. That it's still there. It's still there. It is, and I don't want to rip anything that Disney. I love Disney. Everybody knows. I mean, listen, I do a Disney podcast twice a week, right? So everybody knows I love Disney. I try to be honest as possible, though, and it literally is the lowest rated attraction Disney's ever had, ever. They have some kind of metrics that go into it. You know that I have a good friend of mine who. It's kind of a higher up in the company. And he was explaining the metrics to me and how they measure these type of things. And it, by a long shot, has the lowest guest satisfaction score ever. And I just can't believe it's
really?
I know it's seasonal, and that's usually the kiss of death. But, busy times, it's still open. And I can't get, anyway, it's amazing. And I don't have a problem with Stitch in general. I do have a problem with him being in Town Square, though. I still don't get how that fits at Magic Kingdom. I'm a Disney purist. I love the theming, and I don't see how an alien fits into a Victorian Main Street USA. Just don't get it.
Wait, you mean Tomorrowland, right?
He's in Town Square.
Stitch's Great Escape?
No. Stitch the character has a meet and greet in Town Square.
Oh, wait. I thought you were talking about the attraction.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I went from the attraction and I kind of moved on to the character.
You gotta put on your turn so, man. I'm a little slow.
Sorry, man. I had a long day of watching football today. I'm a little jazzed up.
Well, I had a tall mason jar full of white lightning, so I'm buzzing right now.
I got to get to my pick. We're going to be here. The good thing is we're making each other laugh, and it's an episode about laughing, so it's working out.
Hey, that's good. That's good, man. Yeah. That's good.
I think people are laughing when they listen. I hope you, the listener, right now are laughing at my corny dad jokes.
You better be.
Right. Yeah, right. All right, so my first one. And this is one that, again, it's not a surprise. I've talked about this on a podcast a lot. And it's Beverly at Club Cool. That's one of my favorite things to do. One of the funniest things to do is to go to Club Cool, formerly Ice Station Cool. If you remember remember the caveman outside? It was in ice when you walked in. That was kind of cool. I wonder what happened. What happened to that prop? Somebody has that made into a couch, at their house.
It's like a mantle for a fireplace. Yeah, that's the ultimate irony.
It would be really cool. It is the ultimate. That's funny. It is the ultimate irony. All right.
That's why you keep me on here, man. Bring the heat. See what I did there? You see what I did there?
And the white lightning. So anyway, everybody knows, if you don't know, Beverly is the drink at Club Cool that you can get for free. It's a drink, I guess, from Italy. Apparently it's pretty popular there. I don't know. From what I've been told, most Americans, I think, we think it's kind of gross, a little bitter, little kind of weird, and you don't expect it after having everything around it is the sweetest soda you could ever drink. I say soda. I don't know. You say soda, right? Or you say something else? You a pop guy?
Yeah, no, I'm not a pop guy. Yeah, soda. Yeah.
You're not a Coke guy. I know there's a lot of people, I think, down south that call all sodas Coke.
Well, you know what's big down here is
by that.
cheer wine. Cheer wine is the jam.
No, that's not a thing. I've never heard of that before.
Never heard of cheer wine?
No.
You live down here, man.
I never heard of cheer. I lived in Disney. I never heard of cheer. I didn't live. I lived in Celebration, dude. I lived with, I had to, was drinking an espresso with my pinky in the air.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't
that neighborhood.
I wasn't hobnobbing with the common folk when I lived in Florida. No, I never heard of cheer wine. That's funny. That's what soda is called in Florida.
Well, it's a brand. It's kind of like a Southern delicacy. Maybe you have someone send you a bottle and give them like $100 off. We'll get into that later. Shameless
you know what? No, what I want to do right now. If you have cheer wine, I'll email me if you're listening to this. Seriously, if you're listening to this right now, stop, pause it right now. Email me that you have it, and email me how much it costs and your PayPal address, and I'll pay it and just send it to me because I want to try it now. It's called cheer wine. Anyway. All right, so yeah, just do that. Somebody just email me, and I want to try your cheer wine. Okay, so the funny thing about Beverly is it stands out totally in that line of sweet drinks, right? Like everything is like all the little logos on the push button like drink machines on the taps are like green and pink and light blue, and they're all fun. And Beverly is like a white background with a black word that says Beverly. Like it looks like it would be super unappetizing just from the sign and from the font. And what I love doing is just going and just, because my kids don't even fall for it anymore. We used to do that. Amy and I used to try to trick the kids into drinking it. And they did. And we got a lot of great videos of them drinking it when they were like 3. And we never give our kids soda ever. But when they were in Disney and only at Club Cool will let them have it. So yeah, we got a lot of great videos of them trying it. And then like we would go 6 months between trips, and they, they're kids. They forget. They don't remember that stuff. So we would do it again and take a video and put it on like Facebook for all our friends and family to laugh at. But I like going and just watching. Like I was there in May by myself for training, and I went into Club Cool. And I kind of just have like one of the good sodas, and I stand out to the side and I just watch, because so many people come in and they're like with their parents or like their cousin or their kids. And they're like, oh, this one's the really good one. You should try this one. And it's Beverly. And it like every time it makes me laugh. Like people get so grossed out and so disgusted. And it's like I don't know. It's hilarious to me watching people fall for that. So yeah, to me, Club Cool. And if you're going with someone for the first time, don't tell them. Go trick them. It's really funny to watch people drink it.
I have a crazy, crazy idea that just came to mind. So, about 100 years ago here in the U.S., we had a little thing where the government said people are really abusing the hooch, man, getting drunk and getting all messed up, and we're just a big old mess here as a society. We're going to have a prohibition, no more alcohol, speakeasies. We know the history. Well, fast forward 100 years to current times, we got a big problem now. It's obesity. And, part of what they're saying is, sugar is being the big, one of the big problems that we as a society have had. We're addicted to sugar. Do you think we'll ever have like a prohibition for soft drinks? Like there'll be people pouring, barrels of Coke down the drain, and there'll be speakeasies for Coke, like homemade Coke.
Dude, I hope not. I'm not. I don't drink regular soda at all, but I am a Coke. I'm so disappointed when Coke announced that Coke Zero was being replaced. I'm a big Coke
sugar free or whatever that is now.
Coke 0 calorie.
Oh, okay.
And I've tried it, and I don't like the flavor of Coke anymore. I used to drink so much Coke as like a kid, and then in my 20s, and then I quit drinking it 12, 13 years ago, and I went to Coke Zero. First I went to Diet Coke, and then it came out with, which I don't even like, and then Coke came out with Coke Zero, and they're like, it tastes more like Coke, and I tried it out, I'm like, yeah, it's really good. So now this Coke 0 calorie apparently tastes just like Coca-Cola, which I don't like anymore because it's way too sweet. So that's an issue. Anyway, yeah. I hope they don't. I hope that well, Philadelphia instituted a soda tax, like New York has.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
So So luckily we moved out of the city, for my.
Was that the reason?
Yeah. The hell with the education for the kids. I didn't want to get them into a better school district. I just wanted to get cheap prices for Coke.
I'm tired of paying that extra nickel for my Coke.
Dude, it's way more. It's so much more money. You know, like how they did it with the cigarettes and like people started quitting cigarettes. I get that's what they're trying to do. But now, like my family who also live in the city, they just, when they're in my neighborhood, to like visit the kid, they just stock up on soda. It doesn't really make any difference.
It's just
anyway.
like the mafia sells the untaxed cigarettes.
Yeah, it's untaxed.
Starts taxing. They're going to start selling the untaxed Coke out of the back of Lincoln Continentals, man. It's going to happen.
Wrap duct tape around a label. Nobody will know the difference. Anyway, all right, man. You're up. What do we got?
Okay, next one is this is an interesting one that I think many people may not know about. It's been out. This has been a thing for about a year now. If you're cruising around Epcot and you find yourself in the Norway Pavilion, if you look at your Times Guide, because this is on the Times Guide, unlike the Citizens of Hollywood, this is on your Times Guide when you walk into Epcot. If you find yourself in Norway, you might stumble across some Vikings trolling around through the pavilion. And what I think is interesting is this is a streetmosphere is what I think. I don't know if that's the official Disney lingo, but it's something that's kind of an unofficial Disney lingo for sure, which I guess refers to having actors or actresses roaming about in a certain area of a theme park in a way to help enhance the guest experience. So these Vikings will roam around and they'll interact with guests, but they don't speak English. So they have to try to converse with the guests in a way that is meaningful. And so it's a lot of physical humor in doing so. So they have like a little horn that they'll blow, like kind of like what you would imagine a Viking would, I would imagine a Viking would blow like this big kind of crazy horn. They have a little mini version that has kind of like a high squeaky, which is kind of, ironic and comical right there. But they tended to have a lot of fun with the kids, especially. So they'll try, if they see like a kid with a Mickey bar, let's say, they'll try to trade for a rock. Kind of like we talked about how the Wilderness Lodge should abandon pin trading and to be more immersive, go into pelt trading.
Yes.
So they try to trade like rocks and things like that with the kids for the stuff that they're eating. But I got a real laugh one time because one of the Vikings was trolling around and somebody had parked their Rascal, the little scooter that you would rent if not a wheelchair, like a powered chair kind of thing. Parked it right smack dab in the middle of that area between the bakery, which I'm not going to try to pronounce, and Akershus.
I think I did that on my word of the week last week. I tried to pronounce it.
Yeah.
It's like kring blah blah. I don't want to be disrespectful to Norwegians, but that thing's impossible to say.
And I don't want to sound like a jerk trying to like pretend that I can say it. Right? I can't. I'm sorry. But it just was parked right there in the middle. So I think he tripped over something and it kind of caught him off guard. And he looked, then he commandeered it. Like he was sitting on the scooter and like trying to figure it out. And like, this was like a technology he was unfamiliar with. So it was very physical humor. And I'm laughing, I'm having fun, I'm enjoying it. And so are the guests around me. Well, guess who comes trotting out is the lessee of the scooter.
Said scooter.
And he was an ample gentleman, and he come waddling out of the bakery with an arm full of goods, and he was not happy to have somebody sitting on his seat. And so
you would think he would know it was kind of playing. He would play along.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think he wanted like to sit down while he was eating his school bread, and and so there's someone warming up a seat for him. And I think it's neat because it's unique in terms of the type of humor that you're going to see with the live entertainers at Walt Disney World. So with others like Citizens of Hollywood, you're conversing and there's still a physical element to their humor to some extent, but you're hearing them talk in English. In this case, it's not. And they're trying to do that charades kind of improv thing that we talked about earlier, just under the guise of two Vikings that maybe kind of fell astray on their travels and as they were roaming around, and they entertained the guests who were waiting in line for Frozen Ever After. And I think that's neat and unique, and it's a lot of fun. My kids love it, so that's a great solid second pick for me.
Dude, and it's something that if you think about it, makes so much sense, and you wonder why. Like, not mythical because Vikings were real, but these are obviously very playful and not the actual types of Vikings apparently that there were back in the day. You wonder why they don't have more of that in the different pavilions, right? Like there's so much they could do with different with the different nationalities and the different cultures and the history, and the Vikings is just one little part of it. The Streetmosphere at Hollywood Studios is so good with the Citizens of Hollywood, and then the characters on Main Street USA are so good, like the mayor and the fire chief, and I forget the lady's name who is the suffrage movement. They're all so good, and they're all really like great at interacting with guests. You wonder why there aren't people in different countries in World Showcase.
Like, can you imagine if they did that for the American Pavilion? Like, what would they do? Like, the easy one would be to have like founding fathers kind of.
Like Ben Franklin trying to get a kite in the air, something like that.
Right. I think they should do modern day, like just make fun, like have like some West Coast but the stereotypical, not just to be funny, like the village, like not village, like a valley girl, kind of like to represent West Coast. Like a
guy like me walking around Philadelphia just because it's supposed to be like Independence Hall, right? That's what the building is supposed to be. So
you're constantly like wiping your face with a Geno's or a Pat's napkin.
Absolutely never.
That's no, it's like the tourist trap. It's not like where you guys go. No. But the and like good redneck for the South, like wearing like Old Glory tank top with like a bald eagle on his shoulder.
What's wrong with
like
that, dude?
A real bald eagle, though.
That's what I look like on 4th of July.
That's what I look like on 4th of January, like every day.
You live in Florida. I mean, man, you're fitting right in with your neighbors there.
Yeah,
I'm going to get in so much trouble for making jokes about Florida. All right, no, that's a really good one. I've never interacted with those guys. I've seen them, and I've never gone out to them. And when you have little kids, your kids they're like friendly and like they seek that stuff out, and my kids are much more, they're really shy around people they don't know, so we don't really get them to go up to like any costume Disney character were great. But
wait, let me cut you off for a second, because what you said is hilarious, because your kids are good. Like you don't want your kids to be so like cozying up to strangers all the time.
No,
like,
I know. But
my kids are like, hey there. I know you just rolled up.
Guy.
Yeah, the primered van he's driving looks pretty sturdy, and he's wearing a trench coat in the middle of August. I can't see his eyes.
Kids aren't like that. I just meant they're willing to try like fun new things. My kids are very much like, if we're not with them and holding their hands, they're like kind of wary about new stuff. But it's all right.
No, it's good, man. It's good parenting, man. Pat yourself on the back.
Terrify them.
Good parent.
Terrify them and make them not want new experiences.
Oh, the world's crazy out there. There's crazy people out there.
It's true. I think we're doing a good job. We're doing well enough.
Might bump into grandma and some of her friends.
Well, that we do not want that happening. Holy cow!
Yeah. Don't get in that lifestyle.
I've heard the stories. Every week, every couple weeks actually, we get the stories. All right. So my next one is over. I always feel like I'm a magician, right? Like my next trick, I will. It's so lame. I say that joke all the time, but it feels like it. All right. So this one, okay. Over at Hollywood Studios. For the first time in forever, the Disney Frozen sing-along.
Wow.
And you don't like this one?
No, it's on my list.
Oh, I'm
and
sorry,
I was thinking,
man.
There's no way. No. I got a lot of alternates, and I'm just blown away that you picked that, because I thought there's no way he's going to pick that one. But I love that choice.
Dude, and before you go to that attraction, right? Like when they announced it, I was like, all right. We've seen Frozen. I mean, my girls especially, we had seen it dozens of times. And when we went to see it for the first time in forever.
I see what you did there. Yeah. I saw what you did there.
There we go. Full of the puns. But seriously, I didn't know what to expect, right? I thought, It's gonna be there's gonna be singing. They're gonna have the. I've heard they had the movie on for the songs. The kids are gonna sing. Anna and Elsa will come out. There'll be some snow, and the show's over. And all that does happen, right? There's Anna, there's Elsa, there's Kristoff, there's snow. There's a big Let It Go finale. Sorry for the spoiler, but I think you probably could figure it out. But what I didn't expect were the royal historians of Arendelle, who are the two performers who retell the story of Frozen, and they are hilarious, like so funny. I recognize I have a favorite, actually a favorite couple that do it, and then I've seen when they've done it a bunch of times, and I've also seen when they haven't been there, and it shows. I'm not going to say just as good, but it's pretty darn good anyway. Like my favorites aren't there, but there's one guy who is a cast member there, and he was also a cast member over at Hoop to Do Review, who played, I think, what's the guy's name? Six Bits, whatever, at Hoop to Do Review. And they're so good together. They work so well together. They're hilarious. And they don't just retell the story of Frozen. It's a pun a minute, or more than a pun every 10 seconds. And it's like up to the day, like topical jokes. And I know Justin Bieber isn't like the topical thing right now, but there are I've seen them make Justin Bieber jokes, and like they made like election jokes when I was there around the election. Not like disrespectful, not mean, but really funny. And they're just really good at, keeping the show fresh and making it seem new. And I really love that show.
Well, so add a couple of things to yours, because obviously I love that choice. If you've seen the show once and you go back again, you'll hear some new things that you haven't heard before. And the first time you saw it, they even though it is a script, they do have some wiggle room in there for the actors to have a little fun. So, and even like if you hear, go like back to back shows, you might hear something a little bit different. So, and a couple of these actors who are regulars, I mean, when they're in the zone, man, they're just having a lot of fun and they're great. Not to say that the alternates aren't fun. They're great too.
Right.
They're all really good. But there's a funny story though. One of the actresses who's one of the historians, the story with her is she was a secretary or an assistant for one of the VPs in the company, and she was just a really funny person. And somebody said, you should try comedy. And so she tried out for Comedy Warehouse, and they loved her. And then she quit her job as the assistant and became a comedian. Yeah, and she's one of the regulars, like one of the main Arendelle historians. She's done a bunch of other stuff too. Above and beyond that. But the guy you're talking about, also, fun fact, he also does the pirate cruises.
Oh, wow.
At night. Yeah, for the fireworks cruises around Magic Kingdom. So and there's a handful of the historians, and they're all funny. So you can go, basically you can go 3 different days. You might see 3 different sets of historians, and you'll see kind of like 3 different shows. Even though there's the same theme, some of the same like bits that they have to hit, but they'll play around with the lines a little bit, like you said, and improv and put some topical stuff in there. And so it's funny. It's funny because it's humor that I think kids will get at a certain level, but there's also those little zingers in there that adults will only get. They're not dirty or anything that's inappropriate, but they're funny. Like
they'll make like a joke about, like they'll quote a movie from the 80s, or they'll put a music, like a lyric in there that no kid would ever get, but all of us who were in there with our kids will crack up, and your kids look at you like, what? What's he talking about?
And it's unfortunate because that's a franchise, a film franchise that I think a lot of people might say that it just gets way too much attention. It's a great film. I love it, and I think it's really well done. So the reason I say that is because I fear that some people will see that if they've never done it, or if they've done it once, something, one and done. All right. That they'll think, Frozen, so played out. No, give it a shot. It's definitely something that I think you will walk away from and get a couple of really good laughs out of.
Dude, I totally agree. And I'm glad it was on your list too. Because it's one of those, it's like I said, when I walked in, I was like, all right, like whatever. Like my kids want to see it. They love Frozen. I do too. I think it's a great movie. I remember when I went, our twins were little and they couldn't go to a movie. It was actually our older daughter Alexa's first movie. So I took her by myself and I loaded my pockets with like stuff that I knew she would eat. Like I had like cheese curls, like, kids, like, toddler cheese curls and goldfish and, like a juice box, I walked in with cargo shorts on or cargo pants and did movie theater. And I was making noise as I walked in because she wouldn't eat any of it. And we were giving her candy. So I was going to give her candy or popcorn. She was like 3. So...
That super big gulp was sloshing around
right?
in your cargo shorts.
Yeah, so I knew, like, when we went in, I thought, if she doesn't like it, I'll feed her the whole time, and she'll be all right. And I remember...
I take back that good parenting I said earlier.
Kids can take forever. Like, she'll eat one cheese curl for 40 minutes. Like, it's, those baby cheese curls that came in, like, a tin. Like, I was, Anyway...
They come in a tin. There's so many of them. It takes 40 minutes to do one.
Yeah, it's crazy.
This is a year-long endeavor.
So, but I remember her being so into the movie, and so was I. Like, I bought the soundtrack to Frozen the next day on my phone. I remember because I told my wife, like, my wife Amy, she's a big Broadway fan, and she loves Idina Menzel. And I said, you got to hear this song. Like, this is crazy. And I played it for her. And she, oh my God. So then we had to wait until it came out on DVD for her to see it. And, we had in our old house had a home theater. So the kids went to bed one night and we put it on and she was blown away. So I know it's got a lot of haters and it's not another one that I can't pull off. I can't pull off haters or haterade. I can't pull that off. But it's got a lot of haters, that movie, and I think it's because of the popularity of it that people don't like it. Because you know how some people are. If something is new and good, they're like, nah, it stinks. Like, I can't stand that. I can't stand that mindset. So I love the movie. I think the attraction is awesome, hilarious, really, really funny. It will make you LOL.
I remember as a kid, Grandma leaned down and she said, John, they hate us because he ain't us.
With that one, maybe you should go.
So my third one I picked on my list here was this is an oddball choice, but hopefully you dig it. Is over at Hollywood Studios, the Primetime Cafe, 50s Primetime Cafe.
I love that pick.
It's a unique experience because if you don't know, act like you know. All right, I'm just making myself laugh.
I have my mic on mute, so that's why I didn't laugh. I did laugh, but you couldn't hear me. So the shtick there is the servers there are your cousins, and you're enjoying a meal in a setting that looks like it's from the 50s in someone's kitchen. And the food is really good. I dig the food at 50s Primetime Cafe a lot. And I like how the servers they're in character as your cousins, and they're giving you all kinds of table manners lessons and elbows off the table, sit up straight, and put your set the table, that kind of stuff. And that's fun. It's kind of standard fare. You see it all the time. But if you are there and they can tell that you're down for the cause, they'll really roll and they'll have a lot of fun with you. And it's neat to see them. I guess they probably got it down really well. They can kind of tell, this table they're tired, or they may not want to play around too much. So we'll just give them the generic stuff, set the table, elbows on the table, that kind of stuff. But then table over here, if they look like they're a little more lively and they're having fun and they're smiling and they're laughing, then they'll get a little more of it. And it's fun to watch them create a show, so to speak. I guess that's for lack of a better term, while you're eating. And here's what's nice about it is, let's say you're
you and your family or you and your other guests or even just you by yourself are very introverted and you're not really feeling that as something you want to be a part of, you can still watch it from afar because of the way it's laid out in there. You can easily see what's happening at other tables and you can be entertained by what's going on with those other tables. And they can be loud and kind of, they'll cruise through sometimes doing some parades or whatever. And it's pretty fun. It's a neat environment. It's great for kids and great for big kids too, to kind of relive some of those memories of when you remember when you were a kid getting those lessons brought to the table. And while you're there, enjoy some good food. Aunt Liz's fried chicken, can't go wrong with that, right, man?
That is one of the most popular dishes, if not the most popular one there. That and I think the meatloaf are kind of the two big heavy hitters when you go to that place. And yeah, I agree, man. It's a good one. My brother Sean, who may listen to this, he probably won't, so I'll probably be safe. He doesn't like it at all when people call him out and kind of call attention to him in like a setting like that. So I remember going and I think he was 20 probably. And, he just tried and asked for a beer. And our server, of course, because they should, carded him. And he got all flustered. And he was like, you know what, never mind, I'll just have a Shirley Temple. And it was the worst possible thing he could have done. Because then the guy didn't leave him alone for like the next like hour about like bringing him Shirley Temples. Like, and he would bring him one. And he'd be like, and he was nice. Like it's not mean spirited at all. But he would like, when he would come over, he would just be like, hey, so how's that Shirley Temple going, sport? Like, it was tough. So, because he went from opposite ends of the spectrum. Beer, Shirley Temple. Yeah, if you're into beer, you know what, man? It's a hot day, sweat. Let me just do water for now, and we'll see how the day goes from there. Yeah. Good Shirley Temple. That's funny. That's really, really funny. Yeah, he went with the one thing you probably shouldn't go with after trying to order a beer. You're right. But that is a good pick. It's a fun place. The food is good. Like, so. Although maybe he's genius. Like that's how you save it. Because if you said, I'll just do a Coke. Because then they kind of like, all right, yeah, whatever. Yeah, like but then, busted. Yeah, like no, that's maybe your brother's a genius. I'm a gutsy move. Yeah, that's gutsy. That is the other way. Like I like. I take back. I take back all the laughing I did. I tip my hat to him. That's strong. He's a good guy, my brother. He's funny. Now he's 36, so we don't have to. Still over in Shirley Temples? He's not. He's a big craft beer guy like me. He actually introduces me to a lot of the craft beers we get. What's funny is he's the guy that will come out. He did it today. We were watching a football game, and I invited him to my house. And he comes with his. He'll bring beer for everybody else, but he brings his own. Like he brings his own 6-pack. Like, he's like, that's his. Like I picked it out for myself. You guys can have that over there, but this is mine. Like that's like Barney Gumble rolling up with the keg. With the keg. Well, Barney, you brought a whole beer keg. Yeah, where can I fill it up? It is. Yeah. All right, man. So my next one is which is my third. It's my third one. Yeah. I have so many on my list. Like you and I were talking about before we came on, before we hit record. And I was like, I have all these. We'll have to throw out a couple honorable mentions at the end because I think I was psyching myself out thinking that you were going to pick the ones that I picked. So I went over the top and picked all the other ones. Anyway, so this one is one that I love, and it's kind of overlooked, I think, a lot. And it's Turtle Talk with Crush over at Epcot. At the, what do they call it now? Is it still the Seas Pavilion? The Seas with Nemo and Friends. So that's what the attraction's called, right? Oh, that's the attraction? Yeah. Right, so is it the Seas Pavilion? I don't know. I always forget. I think it's the Seas Pavilion. I think we do our homework before we hop on. We think, I don't call myself this, but I've gotten the like you're a Disney, like you're very knowledgeable about Disney. You're a Disney expert. I never say I'm a Disney expert. That's not something that I use, but I should know what it's called if I'm going to talk about it. But anyway, I feel like Turtle Talk Crush is kind of it's almost like the throwaway of that pavilion, because you have the Seas with Nemo and Friends, right, which is like the big attraction there, and then you have all the animal viewing areas, the seahorses and the manatees and the dolphins and the sharks and all this stuff, and then in the middle of the pavilion there is Turtle Talk with Crush. And I remember before I had kids, I never did it. Like, I was like, I don't need to see Crush. Like, whatever. I don't. But when we had kids and they started wanting to go, we went one day. And I got to tell you, man, I never miss it when I'm at Epcot now. It's so funny. There's never a wait. What do you wait? 5 minutes at like tops to get in there?
Yeah.
Like, and when you wait to get in, you're in a really cool little waiting area with different kind of, sea life that they don't have anywhere else in the pavilion. There's like these really cool jellyfish and this eel this green eel thing that's super creepy. I don't know the name of it. I have a picture of it on my phone. I should try to put that on the show notes, but I always forget that stuff. But it's like the creepy, like a Maury eel or something. It's really creepy looking. And you get in the theater, and it's really cool. The kids get to sit on the floor in front of the screen, or in front of the window, the glass window for the tank. Parents and adults all sit on the benches behind, and Crush comes through the window of the tank and interacts with the kids. I love that the technology is awesome, because you can see him, he can see you interact, and it's Crush. It sounds and looks and everything just like Crush from the movie. He asks you some questions, you get to ask him some questions, or your kids do. And it's so funny. It's always different. That's what I love about it. Like, never the same show twice. And it's almost better when the adults or one of the kids isn't like ask a question that's like out of left field. It doesn't make any sense, because Crush always has the greatest reactions, just like improv. It's all improv, basically. He has a couple jokes that he does that that are scripted, and right now, I mean, the last couple times I was there, they had characters from Finding Dory that kind of come in at the end, and they do a little skit with them. Excuse me, but it's just such a funny show. And again, when the guests aren't into it, like when he'll pick on an adult that really isn't into it and gives like one word answers, he gets even funnier and makes like fun of them, like lightheartedly, of course, and it's just hilarious. Like, I think it makes me laugh so hard every time I'm in there. And our older daughter, again, Alexa, she has, for some reason, I think it's her glasses. Like, she has glasses, and she always wears the big mini ears. She gets picked, I swear, to ask a question every single time we're in there. And he always says, the dudette with the, what does he say? With the swim goggles and the 4 ears. That's like their thing. The glasses and the mini ears. And her questions are always fantastic. They're always like something like, "What do turtles eat?" And then he'll like kind of make a joke about it. Like it's really funny. I can't do his jokes. I don't know the top of my head. Again, I'm not in improv. Obviously, I can never do it. But yeah, I think if you're missing it, if you're walking, if you're doing the Seas with Nemo and Friends and you're walking past that attraction on your way out, you're making a mistake, even if you're just adults with no kids, because it's really, really funny.
So while you were talking, I did some digging, because I'm curious. I know it used to be the Seas, like the pavilion, and trying to figure out what the new name of it is. And so I went on, the site, urbandictionary.com.
It was the Living Seas, right?
Yeah, Living Seas. Right. Yeah, Urban Dictionary says it's called the Seas with Nemo and Friends Pavilion.
Wow, how about that?
Yeah.
All right, that's
Urban
weird.
Dictionary. Urban Dictionary.
They know what they're talking about. I mean, they aren't the leading dictionary authority on the internet for nothing.
It's what I use. I mean, and I think everyone should. It's
you and Grandma Shortsleeve.
Yeah, I mean, it's how she keeps sharp.
If it's good enough for her, it's good enough for us.
That's if you go on Urban Dictionary and look up the phrase "that's so ratchet," she's the one that came up with that.
There's a picture of her.
Yeah,
there.
Swinging a ratchet.
On the Harley.
Oh, she's crazy.
All right, man. We hit a lull there for a second. Did you hear that? Did you hear the lull?
No, I missed it.
All right, man, you're up. Good. Number 4.
Number 4. This one I think is going to probably get some people shaking their heads and Gronk spiking their phone. Shout out to Safety Dave. How you doing, buddy? Jungle Cruise and Magic Kingdom. Here's why. Now, I know somebody's
list. Definitely.
Really? Oh, wow.
No, my list is enormous. Like I said, we'll have to go through it later. We'll have to kind of quickly rattle off the ones we didn't mention for our 5s because, yeah, I one of my favorites ever. Love Jungle Cruise. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, but here's why I think some people might get upset is, it's a classic attraction. It's been around forever. And some people will say, that's a script that they have to keep very tight and you're going to hear the same things over and over and over again. But this is the world according to Johnny Shortsleeve. I feel like lately I've been on that attraction and I've seen the skippers veer just a little bit off the script, just enough to catch you off guard with some little zingers that are really funny and, kind of pun type humor or, tongue-in-cheek kind of humor, not anything that's, raunchy or not family friendly, of course, but it's enough where and maybe that's why it's so funny to me is because I'm not expecting it. Like I'm expecting kind of, all right, now I'm going to go around this corner and this is going to be the line that they're going to use. And so I'm conditioned, but when they catch me off guard, like with that little different one-liner, it hits hard and it's very funny to me. So and I don't know if you share the same sentiment or you've had the same observations, but I've seen and there's some good physical humor that some of them have been doing, like in terms of not just standing there and just reading, spieling the whole way through off of the script. I mean, it's something that I think, and I hope that somebody from Disney is not listening and going, they're doing what? And then now all a bunch of the skippers are going to get in trouble.
What happened. That actually happened at Movie Ride like a few years ago.
Yeah, I heard about that.
That's why they went to the more automated script because it's one of the reasons.
Well, it wasn't the issue there because they had to be so careful of the licensing and all, with all the characters that were portrayed in that film. Yeah. Well, I don't know. So hopefully no one is listening to this that would get them in trouble for doing that if they're not supposed to be doing it. But it seems like now I see the Jungle Cruise skippers having a lot more fun than I remember them having in the past. And that is really neat to see because it's kind of, evolving or, updating the script a little bit and having a little bit more fun with the attraction without actually changing the attraction. And because the skippers really are a main element to the show of that attraction. So to see them having that fun and being able to put their own little spin on the script is neat for me to see. So I think that's a neat one that you should put on your list if you're somebody who's going back and say, oh yeah, I did Jungle Cruise, did a few years ago, whatever. I know what to expect. I'm going to move on and try something new. Give it another try if you haven't done it in a while.
So you reminded me of a couple things. One, there was a really cool story. I think I mentioned it. I had an author named Jim Denny on a couple episodes a few weeks ago. And he talked, his book was Walt's Disneyland. It's still there if you know where to find it. I gave a bunch of copies away over those episodes. But he talks about in his book, he used to ride the attractions with people just to kind of get what they thought of, blah, blah, blah. So he was walking around the queue or walking near the queue of Jungle Cruise. I don't know what year it was, in the late 50s, whatever, early 60s. And he overheard a son say to his mom, I want to ride the Jungle Cruise. And she said, no, we did that last time we were here. We've seen it. We don't have to do it again. And he thought, all right, no. That's not good enough. This has to be fresh. We have to change it up. And it's interesting how we were saying there because it kind of made me think about that. Like he was aware of that in the 50s or 60s, which is why I think one of the reasons why they went to the more kind of jokey, like fun-filled kind of, like it used to be when it first opened, a very serious narration of the rivers of the world. And you can't do that.
Have you heard the audio from the original one?
I haven't.
I have. I'll see if I can get you a copy of it. That is a great way to describe it. It's a very serious, intense kind of audio that they had for it in terms of what the actor was saying and the music that was.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't. I've never looked for that. I don't know why. It makes sense that I would have. I just never have. But I agree, man. I think they have a lot more kind of leeway on stuff they can say. So one of my favorite jokes, you were saying they do a lot of physical stuff. And I think I mentioned this recently on the show, but I'm just going to say it again because I love it. Was we were in Disneyland a couple months ago, and we had a female skipper. She wasn't phenomenal. She was good. Like, you know how sometimes they phone it in, and you're like, all right, like, but you kind of want somebody who's super into it, and she hadn't really been, and I was a little bummed out because it's Disneyland, and it's the original Jungle Cruise, and you wanted to be way into it. But we were stuck at unload, and we were waiting for the boat in front of us to, unload. And she starts, they're not going to be there silent. So she starts just, doing her one-liners. And I love this one. I love when they go, now that we're stopped, I'd like to point out a couple of my favorite plants. There's this one. And they point. She pointed at one. It's like, and there's that one over there. Oh, and there's that one. I just thought it was great. Like, and it made an experience on the Jungle Cruise that wasn't great, like way funnier for me because that just really it's physical, it's really funny, and I just loved it. I thought it was really, really good. So
there's one that they're doing not all the time, but I'm seeing. The first time I saw it or heard it, I was just laughing hysterically. But I've seen it a handful of times since then. Is when they get right by the hippos. They used to grab the pistol and fire off a couple shots.
Yep.
And now I've seen where they'll grab the pistol and say, I know what to do. I'll get them away like I got my last boyfriend or girlfriend away. And they wave the pistol and go, I
love you! That's great.
Yeah,
because they don't shoot it anymore in Disney World. Disneyland, they still shoot it.
Oh, yeah.
They still take a couple shots, yeah. So that's great, man. That's a really funny line. All right, was that you or was that me that said that? It was you, right? That was your
yeah, that was on my list.
All
right. So your fourth one.
All right, number 4. I still have a couple other good ones. I'll have to mention them. All right, let me look. I'm going to go with, and it's not going to be a surprise to anyone who's ever listened to this show before, in particular, that's right? In particular? Yeah. To one of our shows, and it's one of the funniest nights you can have in all of Walt Disney World, and it's a night with Yeehaw Bob Jackson over at Port Orleans Riverside. And listen, Bob has been there for, I think, more than 20 years now, I think. He does 4 shows a week. His show is, he's a one-man, entertainer, one-man show, plays the piano in a way that I don't know how he even does it. It's on, like, I think he had, like, legs removed. I don't know what's going on with the darn thing. It rocks back and forth the entire time he plays. He's just a phenomenal performer. Hilarious. It's a family-friendly show. Dude, it's so, and I know you've seen him, it's so busy over there most times that you can't get a seat. Like, if you get in there anytime, after he starts, you have to kind of stand in the back and wait until somebody gets up so you can go find a seat. But I love that they've kept him in that same spot. Like, I think they could have moved him into a park, or they could have moved him into a bigger kind of lounge or restaurant or something, but they haven't. They've kept him there. He's been there forever. And his show is super family friendly, really, really funny. Like, he has these recurring jokes that he does every night. Just a phenomenal, hilarious, just really, really funny performer, and a really good guy. I've had him on the show. I was intimidated by him, really intimidated by him on the show, because I was like, he's really quick and he's really funny, but he was a really nice guy to have on the show. Super, super nice. He sang. He was the first one that's ever sang a song on the show, and I didn't even ask him to. He sang like the intro to himself. Like I don't know if you. I actually I know you've listened.
Didn't he like rip out a trumpet too and start banging away on it?
Yeah, he had the trumpet and he had the piano, and I had no idea he was sitting at his piano when I called him because the call was over Skype and I didn't know. So I said, thank you so much to my guest tonight, Bob Jackson, Bob, and then he went into this piano and his song and broke out the trumpet. Yeah, it was crazy. And then when I asked him what his favorite songs to play were, he just he started playing them on the piano right there on the interview, and it was very, very cool. But he has a couple of really, really, really funny bits that he does throughout the show. My favorite song that he does is it's Sarah. Do you know this one?
I think if I heard it, I would recognize it.
So he says, repeat after me. And then he does this thing where he goes, don't mess it up. And then he does, Sarah, sitting in a shoe shine shop. And then he goes, what's she doing now? All day long she sits and shines. All night long she shines and sits. I'm glad I got that right because I would have had to re-record that if I got it wrong. But yeah, it's so
just beep
funny.
It out with a trumpet.
Yeah, it's so funny. I mean, it's the people in there. Every guest that's in there is dying laughing because it gets harder. Like it gets like it's Sarah sitting in a brick ship yard all day long. She bricks and ships. All night long, she ships and bricks, and you have to sing it. And oh my god, it's so hard. But it's what makes it funny, and it's so much fun for adults. And the kids have fun because they do the hokey pokey, and he sings like songs from Frozen, and it's just a great time. I love it. My kids love it, even though they usually fall asleep because they're exhausted from the day at the parks. But it's awesome. It's a great time.
I'm shocked that was so deep in your list. That wasn't number one.
So I kind of try to save the best for last.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going the other way.
And I've talked to people who he's the reason why they book their stay at Port Orleans Riverside. Is just because
I have clients all the time that book there purely because of him. I'm one of them. I literally, until I started my job, I started my own business as a Disney travel agent. For years, from the time I was probably, 19, 20, till I don't know, a couple years ago, stayed only at Port Orleans Riverside. It's the only place I ever stayed and we would make sure that we would book for those 4 nights when he was playing, and we would go every night, like literally 4 nights in a row to his show. He's that good. Like he's that entertaining.
And and just to talk about your point of the reason why being amazed that they haven't reassigned him to another spot on property, that they could do it at a venue where they could accommodate more guests and get more booze flowing. But I wonder if just that, River Roost has kind of a vibe, and it wouldn't be the same show if you put him somewhere else.
No, you're probably right. It does. And it has, people in and out all the time, and, people come back from the parks and you walk. I love the people that come in and don't know what's going on. And when he does the, where you folks from? And they say, Philadelphia. And then he goes, is anyone here from Philadelphia? And the whole place is like, yeah, like, it's just great. And he has that joke going all night, like with every new person that comes in. And an amazing thing that he does is his name is remembering the names of people. I don't know how he does it. I don't know what trick he uses. I asked him when I had him on the show, and he said it just kind of comes naturally to him. But he doesn't forget a name during the show, and he asks so many people their names. So, like, he'll be playing a song. Like, say he's playing the Hokey Pokey, and he'll be singing it, and he'll just point people out. Like, I don't hear you, Sarah. I don't hear you, Timmy. It's crazy. But it's not just 2-3 people. It's 20, 25 people, and he remembers their names throughout the show. He's phenomenal. And he's not a young man. He's been doing it for a long, long time, and hasn't lost a bit of energy, and it's so funny, and Yeah, I can't talk enough about him. He's such an awesome talent. So yeah, go see him. Really, if I can't, again, like I said, I can't say enough about him. So that's my number 4.
Good pick, man.
Thanks.
All right. So for my last one, I was really, really wondering about this one as to whether you would be putting it on your list. And I thought, you know what? Let me just throw it deeper in the list to see if it shows up. And I hope I'm not stealing one from you. But and I'm curious about this one because you'll see. It's the Muppets Mobile Lab in Epcot.
I love the Muppets and I love the Mobile Lab, but it wasn't on my list.
Oh wow, that's shocking. I really would have thought that would have made your list. But so a quick overview. It's a interactive character interaction with Dr. Benson Honeydew and Beaker, and they're on this contraption which I think is built on a Segway, and it looks like they're out and about doing experiments, and they get the crowd involved. And where they do it is in Future World in Epcot, between Spaceship Earth and the pin trading station, or a pin trading little kiosk up there, right before the fountains. I am not 100% sure that this is still going on because I've never seen it on a Times Guide. So I don't know when they do it. So when I have
just
seen
stumbled into it. I've never seen it on any kind of guide at all.
Yeah, that's the only way I've seen it. It's just I just happen to be walking through Future World at the time when they're doing it. And it's probably been a few months since I've last stumbled upon it. But again, I've been to Epcot a lot in the last few months. I just probably just haven't been there. And it's not like I just sit there and hang out at Future World in that little spot for hours at a time.
With your Beaker shirt on.
No, it's Dr. Honeydew is the shirt that I wear.
I actually have a Beaker and Honeydew shirt. I do.
Really?
Yeah, it says hashtag science on it. I have that shirt.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
there's a lot of cool Muppet merch out there.
Love the Muppets.
Yeah, and I like it because it is interactive, and so they can bring the guests out and converse with the guests. Like Dr. Bunsen Honeydew can actually converse with you, and he'll call people out and kind of have a little fun with them. And I laugh every time I see it. It's a really sharp, funny show that they do out there. And, forget the technology for a second of having them out there kind of independently on a Segway doing their thing. It is a technological marvel what they've created in that experience. But it's just funny. Like when you hear some of the lines that they do, or just see how they interact with the guests, they have a lot of fun, and you'll crack jokes, and they'll crack jokes, and you'll laugh. And it just so happens to be all wrapped into this neat bow of this insanely awesome piece of technology they built to bring them out there and do that. So I wish I could say more definitively as to, number one, when you can see it, number two, whether it's still going on, if that was just a thing they do. They'll do it here and there in the spring, and then it won't come again until Christmas time. I have no idea, and I don't even know who to ask to say that. But all I can say is, if you do hear of it or you do find someone, let me know what your source is. We can figure out when we can catch this thing on the regular. It's a lot of fun.
I saw it in May. Was the last time I saw it when I was there by myself. I was just walking through Epcot, I don't know, after one of the training days, and I saw it and I stopped, and I think I took a Facebook Live video of it for a couple minutes. And yeah, it's so well done. I constantly am trying to figure out how they do it, and I'm trying to ruin the magic for myself because it's such a cool concept, and it's very cool. I remember there being something like that with Kermit on it. Do you remember this? Am I crazy? I swear there was a mobile Kermit and Miss Piggy at some point as well.
I don't remember that.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was in one of the. Maybe it could have been Stars and Motor Cars Parade or something. And that's what I'm thinking of. I don't know.
Oh.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. But I thought there was one with Kermit. But yeah, the Mobile Labs is hilarious. If you know Bunsen, Honeydew, and Beaker, their whole back and forth in their shtick, Like Beaker gets injured a couple times during the show. That's always funny when he gets hurt. And,
hey, kids listening, it's not funny when you get hurt.
It's funny. Come on, dude. We grew up on the Muppets and Tom and Jerry and Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. I know they're a little older than we are, but we grew up on the syndicated shows like in the morning.
I was watching Inspector Gadget with my kids the other day, and I forgot how violent that was.
Yeah, like you do forget that stuff. Like same with I watched Fraggle Rock with my kids. We went on.
They were into crazy death metal. Fraggle Rock.
Are they into death metal?
No, I'm just kidding, man. Come on. Well, I'm improv here.
I was like, wait, did I miss something in Fraggle Rock? Like,
yeah, man. Headbanging. They were headbanging all the time. Remember?
Was Red a death metal like the head of a band? I don't know what I missed there. But
I was throwing up the horns all the time. You know?
But no,
it's Ozzy always gets the credit, but it's not Ozzy that did it first. It was
Fraggles.
The Fraggles, yeah.
Which is a phenomenally funny word, by the way. Speaking of funny things, the word Fraggle is just funny. That's a fun word to say, Fraggle. And then if you keep saying it, then it loses its meaning. And you ever do that with a word? And you just keep saying it over and over, and you're like, now it doesn't make any sense to me. It's weird.
Just throw it in random conversations. Like, oh man, I'm so fraggled. Like instead of frazzled.
Are you a Smurf? God, man, I smurfed my knee when I fell. It's all smurfing. I never understood that when the Smurfs did that. They was thinking, say anything for a Smurf, and the other Smurfs all got it. And I was like, what's he talking about?
If something is a really close call, I'll say, I don't even think we could have been able to fit a Smurf's nose hair in between those two bumpers.
All right. Well, anyway, what the heck were we talking about?
I don't remember.
A Muppet Mobile Lab. Anyway, yes, it's really, really good. And I was saying that you were saying, I said Beaker, it's funny when he gets hurt during the show, and he said no, but like Tom and Jerry, man, that's the work. Like I know like Itchy and Scratchy on The Simpsons makes fun of it, but there were some crazy wars on Tom and Jerry. Like it was crazy. Anyway, all right, so my last one, and I think I'm going to have to go back and look at the other ones, but the last one I want to mention right now. Jeez, I'm sorry. Hold on one second. This is not coming out tonight, by the way. There's no way. I have to edit it.
Did you say you had to clap? Is that what she said?
I'm going to clap. This is why I know that I edited it.
Oh, I'm about to say.
No. I was saying that there's no way. I don't have to edit all these out because I keep coughing. I don't know. One of the kids gave me a freaking cold, and I can't get rid of it. All right. Let me start over. So, my last one is, and I said I want to go back and look at the other ones I didn't mention, but I really do think, and that's why I saved it for last, the funniest LOL moments can be found at Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor. So, we mentioned some dad jokes earlier. It's all dad jokes, right? That's pretty much what the entire show is dad jokes. But for my money, it's the funniest attraction in the park. We're in all the parks. It's totally underrated, right? Never wait. You can walk right in. There's, what do you wait? 5 minutes total. You get to text your jokes in to the monsters. They can say it during the show. From anyone from Buddy Boyle is the monster comic who kind of warms up the crowd. And then Marty Wazowski comes out, Mike Wazowski's nephew. Then you get the two-headed monster guys. I don't remember their names, but they're really, really funny. Basically, what I love about the show is they really make fun of every guest they can find in there, but it's lighthearted. It's not mean. It's just, with that guy, and then they have, I don't know if I know you've been in this show. Have you ever been Mike Wazowski when they tell the retelling of Monsters, Inc.?
I haven't, and I wonder if part of it is, for some reason, I always get toward the back of the theater.
Yeah, back row, the back row, or the back two rows. the camera can't see you.
Yeah, that must be why.
Yeah,
either that or when I'm not, they're looking at this guy's a little sketchy.
Don't put him on camera. Jeez,
He's
look at him. But no, because you and I are both follically challenged, and we both have the very close cropped haircuts. I am always Mike Wazowski. Like every time I'm in there, they put me on as Mike, and then they always go Mike with one eye, and I have to close my one eye. And if you play along, it's fun. But if you don't play along, it's even like I had mentioned with Turtle Talk with Crush. It's even funnier if you're not playing along, because they'll rip you to shreds in a nice way, but they will rip you apart. And I love that they do that. It's a lot of fun. And we went in there with Chuck, who's on the show sometimes, Rodriguez, and my kids and Amy. And have you ever seen when they do This Guy Can't Stop Dancing or whatever, or he found a new dance, and you have to dance on the camera?
That's not ringing a bell, but
so they do that. And it's something like learn a new dance and can't stop doing it or something. So, and it's like a cut. They cut to him, and it has the text at the bottom of the screen. So Chuck can move, man. He's a Cuban guy. He's got a little bit of that Cuban dance flair going on. You had to see him dancing. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. Excuse me. And it's just hilarious. And the jokes they tell, like I said, you can text your jokes in. It's like Turtle Talk with Crush. The performers are great. It's really, 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 really funny. So that's why it's my top one.
Well, did you say it was funny because like you were caught off guard, or like he was like trying to be funny, like doing like the Carlton or?
Oh no, he just completely embraced the dancing thing. Like he can dance, so it was like a silly dance that he was doing. But yeah, every time, and they went to him like, and I've never seen him do that with the dancing guy. They went to him like 4 times during the show, and he would just get up and do the same dance. It was hilarious.
That's awesome, man. I never get called for that kind of stuff. I think they take a look at him and say, "Oh, that guy probably danced like a one-legged monkey." And get him up here.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Like I never get called for Indiana Jones or any of those kinds of shows. But for this one, to see a bald guy who might be up for being made fun of in the audience, and I usually am Michael Wazowski. But yeah, it's a really funny show. It's really good. I think, like I said, completely underrated. Nobody goes. Like you get in line and you walk right into the theater, basically. So, I don't know. It's just one of those that I think more people should see. It's really, really funny.
Yeah, I agree. It is underrated in terms of the attractions, and I'm not sure if I understand why either. It's one that I've always walked out of feeling like I just had a good time. I'm laughing. And my kids had fun. It's something that I always recommend my friends to do if they're looking for suggestions.
Yep, me too.
So I don't know, maybe this is good. Maybe this will be like the tipping point to get it to be a little more popular. But I've noticed that it's got a decent line every time that I walk past it if I'm not going in there. In terms of, it's not like an hour wait all the time.
Never, no.
But it's got a pretty decent sized theater, so they can jam a lot of people in. And the show isn't too terribly long, so they can turn it.
It's like 8 minutes or something like that. Yeah,
they can turn it over
fast. Yeah,
yeah.
But it's a great show. It's really, really funny, and it's improv. It's all like they take suggestions from the audience and run with them, and it's really, really funny. All right, so that was our 10. Now I know you have a couple honorable mentions. Excuse me. So do I. I'm having a hard time with the cough on this episode. I edited a couple coughs out. I hope I remember to edit them all out, but I probably won't.
I feel like I should go chug some orange juice after. I'm not even in the same room as you.
It's coming through. It's coming through the microphone. All right, man. So let's hear. You want to go through a couple of your honorable mentions, and I'll go through mine after that?
Well, you actually took a couple of mine that were on my lower down in the list that I didn't have as much material to talk about. So the only 2 that didn't get mentioned, I said, which you kind of mentioned this one too. So really 3 you mentioned. The only one then really left would be Whispering Canyon for me in terms of an
That
experience.
was on my list too, yeah.
Oh, good.
My honorable mention one.
Very similar in terms of 50s Primetime Cafe. I think the cast members who are servers in there can kind of tell if you're into it or you're not, and they'll kind of take it easy if you're not. But if you are into it and you have a lively table, they'll have a lot of fun with you, and it's not as tight and scripted as, or tight in terms of the theme of what you'll hear as you would hear in primetime, which is more like manners driven type of stuff. This is just a little more razzmatazz and having fun with you. And I always laugh and have a good time when I'm there. So I think that's a cool one.
I agree, dude. And I can't stand the grumpers that come in and they don't play along. I'm always bothered by that. You're in Walt Disney World. Listen, you chose to come to a restaurant that you probably know they're going to have fun with you, while you're there. Don't be a grumper. Get in there and have fun.
Well, yeah. I wonder how many of them are like, my travel agent. He recommended this so highly.
That's me.
I thought he was great. I mean, I found him on Yelp. He had an awesome review. It's like he knew what he's doing. And what did he put me in the middle of? Yeah. People yelling at me, throwing napkins.
Yeah, bring me full pitchers of water when I ask for a glass.
You got 17 containers of ketchup on my table.
It's a lot of fun. Those clients who I love, I'll probably never book a trip for again. So it doesn't even matter. All right. So that was your one? You only had the one I mentioned?
You mentioned a couple others. Like you kind of graced over the citizens on Main Street, USA, like the mayor, Smokey the fire chief, and the suffragettes. You talked about Hoop-Dee-Doo review at Wilderness. You briefly mentioned it, like the actor who used to be over there. And then you said Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor.
Which, again, I love. And those two, I was prepared to talk more about Hoop-Dee-Doo in length, but I won't. Another great show, again, that I love and still packs crowds in every single night. It's still hilarious. That one I don't get. I laugh on there every single time. I don't understand how a show that came out in, 1973, I think? It's still as funny now, but it is. It's still hilarious.
It's like, I think, I don't know. Some comedy is timeless. You can watch some things like Three Stooges or whatever, and you still laugh at and chuckle at. Other comedies kind of dated. So I wonder if that's kind of what. I mean, I don't know. Is it pretty much the same script?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of interaction with the crowd and stuff too that they change up. But yeah, I mean, as long as I've been going, I think it's been pretty much the same script. I read a whole or listened to a whole podcast about it and about how it's changed over the years and how it was almost like a throwaway show when it first opened and it didn't do well, and it was all college kids that put it on. And then over the years, the first really a couple of years, it developed like this almost like a cult following, and now, I mean, it's one of the longest running stage shows in the history of the country. That's pretty cool.
I wonder if the tipping point was the pastry chef who dusted off his or her grandma's strawberry shortcake recipe. Said,
I would not discount the idea of that being one of the big reasons people go. The strawberry shortcake and the fried chicken and the ribs are all amazing.
Yeah.
And let's not forget that included with the ticket price is your unlimited beer or sangria. That doesn't hurt anything.
Yeah. The last time I was there, they were doing like a Christmas, I think I mentioned it on your show a while ago. They're doing a Christmas holiday overlay. Like a couple of the show elements were adapted for that. And I thought it was awesome how they kind of tweaked it a little bit. I don't know if they still do that or not.
I haven't seen the holiday one. I don't know.
I don't know if they build it as such, or if they just kind of just snuck it in there. But it was a few years ago that I saw it, and I thought it was really, really awesome.
Yeah, it's just a great show. It really is. It's hilarious, and it, like I said, it hasn't really lost anything over the years, except for the song, which drives me nuts. They lost the Hoop-Dee-Doo song.
Which song was that?
Hoop-Dee-Doo, Hoop-Dee-Doo. They don't sing it anymore.
Give me a few more bars. I don't remember.
Yes, you do. Get out of here. They can't sing it anymore. The family of the person that wrote that song sued Disney, and they were in litigation for a while, and then Disney finally, I don't know if they settled out of court. I forgot the actual story, but they can't use the song anymore.
What?
So it's a bummer, man. It's not that good.
Well, you can always preserve it.
If you listen to me sing it, just call me whenever you want, and I will sing it for you on the phone. My number's out there. It's not hard to find. Excuse me. All right. So let me give you a couple of my honorable mentions, really quick. Great moments in history with the Muppets. Really funny at Liberty Square, particularly because of the Sam the Eagle lines, like great moments in history. And he says, but just the American parts, like it makes me laugh every time. Skipper Canteen, hilarious. Really just in the same way Jungle Cruise is funny because they're, off-duty Jungle Cruise skippers. They're your servers. I think they get really into the part. They do a really good job with the puns and the jokes. And, again, it kind of ties that little area together. I love that. Let me see what else did I have. Let me see. That might be all. I had Hoopty 2, Whispering Canyon. Yeah, I had Yeah Bob. My last one. Muppet Vision, again, like I was saying, I love the Muppets. Muppet Vision 3D, I still love. I don't know what's in the future for that attraction. I don't know. I'm sure you saw they changed the marquee recently. Put like a marquee up that looks like it could be changed at any time.
Well, I wonder if they did that because to kind of jive with the theming of the new.
Yeah, what's the name of the street now? I forget. It's got like a new.
Is it Grand Avenue?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's got a new like. What's funny was when the hurricane came through, they took all the fences and the down, the wood, the plywood on the fences. You can see kind of what they were building back there. There's even a little bit of Star Wars land visible, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean that they had a store. They have a special lot where they store all that stuff to keep it so they can quickly get it back, and that's the same lot where they take Cinderella's castle apart and they put it all down.
Yeah, well, you know what was funny was you're actually perpetuating a lie right there by saying they take it apart, because what they actually do is there's a button that they hit under the utility doors that just lowers Cinderella Castle into the ground. And
that's the new thing they put in there. I forgot about that.
The platform in.
Yeah, because it took so long to dismantle it.
Yeah, because you can't
put it back.
You'd be closed for more than a couple of days with a hurricane if you had to take it all apart. So now it's just
that's what there was the incident of '96 where they put the wrong spires on the wrong towers, and it was all crisscrossed, and then it turned out looking like a birthday cake, and it was a big old mess.
You're right. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I tried to keep it going, but I couldn't. For the listener, I do have to say that no, Cinderella Castle cannot be taken apart in a hurricane, and no, it's not on an elevator that goes under the ground.
But what I am serious about is the birthday cake thing. I wasn't a hater. I liked it.
Did you really?
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I was impressed. Like I thought, how impressive. In the heck did they do this?
No, it's super impressive. I agree. And I read a lot of those things, like the candy and stuff, were inflatables, which blew my mind. Like that.
I see what you did there.
No, I didn't. That wasn't on purpose. God, it's all about second level jokes and thinking.
You're just naturally punny.
This is crazy. Yeah, we're naturally tired at this point. I can't tell, but. All right, man, that was my last honorable mention, and this is fun. This is a really funny episode to record. So thanks again dude, thanks for coming on as usual. These are always fun. And what's funny is when I edit them and I listen back, I laugh again at the jokes. Like I laugh at you again because it's way funnier the second time because I remember it being funny, and then I laugh again because it's funny. So it's really cool. So thanks again, man. These are fun. And
I appreciate it.
Dude, do you have anything you'd like to promote or plug or talk about here before we let you go?
Yeah, no, thank you. I sincerely appreciate it this time. We just had a very serious thing going on here, and you probably saw in the news. Everyone heard about it, or Hurricane Irma. My friends over the National Moped Association are really in a bad way right now. They had an ALEC notice. That's Act Like You Know notice. They're trying to get the word out, because moped owners, you gotta be safe. I mean, there's branches that are falling everywhere. You're not driving a Jeep Wrangler, everybody, in your mopeds. You can't climb these branches when they're on the ground. You got to go around. You do not go over the branches on the mopeds. You go around. Wear your floaties, because if you are going to go over any terrain that is waterlogged, you got to make sure you got your floaties on, and you'll vapor lock that moped single lunger, and if you're on there. So be careful, everybody, and get the word out. Get the app, the National Moped Association app. It's free to download in the App Store and the Google Play and all that Android stuff. They will push notifications on you to let you know where there's dangerous road conditions for the moped owners. So just thanks for letting me get the word out. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for spreading the word. I really appreciate it. I know the National Moped Association, I know they appreciate the kind words and the heads up for everybody.
It's all about the card carrying members. That's what we're doing, man.
So thanks again, man, for coming on. And I'll talk to you soon. We'll have you on again very soon to hear about your adventures and the mopeds and grandma short sleeve and all that stuff. So
right on.
Thanks again. And that is going to do it for this week's episode of the Ear to There podcast. Thank you once again to my friend, my constant co-host, and my brother from another mother, Mr. Johnny Shortsleeve. I never laugh as hard as I do ever in my life, really, as when he and I get on a show together. So that was a lot of fun. And I really hope you enjoyed the show. That is what means the most to me. Yeah, it's fun, and we have a lot of fun, and we do a lot of laughing, but I hope you're laughing right along with us. So thank you again so much for listening, and thanks for hanging there. I know sometimes we go on rants and we go on raves and we talk for a long time, but I hope you're enjoying it. And I hope you enjoyed our list of our top LOL, as much as I can't stand that abbreviation, our favorite laugh out loud places in Walt Disney World. And like I ask every week, if you enjoy the show, if you're loving the show, do me a favor. Leave me a rating and a review on iTunes and subscribe to the podcast if you can. Just head on over to eartotheretravel.com/iTunes. There's a pretty easy to follow tutorial there that'll teach you how to subscribe, how to rate, and how to review the show. Thank you so much in advance for doing that. It just helps more ears get on the show. It helps more people listen to it. That was a little redundant, but you know what I mean. So thank you so much in advance for doing that. All right, so there will be a new episode of the Ear to There podcast each and every Monday morning, as well as a new episode of the Ear to There podcast, Walt Disney World Word of the Week, each and every Wednesday morning. And as I had mentioned at the beginning of the show, I will also have a new episode of Running for Sandwiches, and that'll be on each and every Tuesday morning. So thank you again for listening. I hope you had fun. I know we did. Until next time, have a fantastic week. Bye-bye.